Hey up guys, S-Man back at it again with another Horizons review. Now, this one's a little late, so I'm just gonna go right into the video. Now this episode picks up right where the last one left off with Kabu revealing himself at the Battle Cafe. He then talks about how he was going for a jog and decided to stop by for some pastries and runs off. That's when Liko and Roy have to chase after him in order to basically ask him about Rayquaza. They eventually arrive to his gym where a gym trainer, her name is Wakaba, and we are introduced to her goal to basically become an official gym trainer as she's currently in training to become one. And she has to win a battle to become an official gym trainer. I really liked her. We're probably never going to see her again, but I like the idea that we're meeting the gym trainers and they have their own goals of how to advance far in the gym, and we even see her, and she seems like more of a rookie compared to Kabu with only using a Roly Colt later on in the episode. She also helps Liko develop later on, but I'll get into that. They ask Kabu about Rayquaza, and he mentions that he did see it on a jog recently. That is when he offers to train them similar to how Brassius did in order to fight Rayquaza when the time comes. At the start of this, he does ask them what are their intentions, which Roy says he wants to battle and capture Rayquaza, and Liko says she just wants to help out because it's all connected to her dreams and adventures. This then leads to the training where it starts off with a gym challenge where Liko and Roy have to compete against each other, Roy having to light with little flame with Ember, and Liko having to put it out with her leafage. This is actually really interesting because during this, we see Liko develop a new tactic for her leafage, like a strong style, a fast style, and more of a distraction style, which is very cool and basically builds off more of Liko's character, where we've seen in previous episodes, she has built like this more strategic battle style, and seeing the fact that she's able to manipulate her leafage into newer forms, definitely interesting. Hopefully we see this with Meowscarada when their flower bomb technique becomes different ways, like for example, a bigger flower bomb, a faster flower bomb, and a more distraction like flower bomb. This definitely could exist for like the rest of Liko's character, this strategy development, and I can't wait to see more of it. Meanwhile, Roy is just shooting embers, just trying to accomplish the task, similar to always. Liko is ahead of Roy when they decide to take a break because Fuecoco is tired. That's when Roy does what he always does with Fuecoco, and they sing to boost up their power. Seeing this, Liko decides to let Roy win for some reason. This actually leads to later on, and a big part of this episode, which makes me like this episode, because when I first watched it, I was like, alright, a normal training episode, but I thought it was like going back to the Brassius episode, similar to that, but instead including Liko. But I'm happy it includes Liko, and especially seeing how next week could build up to something, I can't wait to see where Liko's character is going. But yeah, after this, Roy wins, Liko loses. Kabu decides that him and Wakabe are going to have a battle against Liko and Roy, a double battle to basically test their strength. This battle will also test Wakabe, see if she's suited to be a gym trainer. The battle begins with basically Kabu destroying Liko and Roy, because let's be fair, all Galar gym leaders are on the tier of Elite Four members, and this has been canonized, and we even see how the strongest Galar gym leader, Raihan, is even at a point where he could be a champion if he wanted. And we hear about the past of Galar in the DLC where there has been multiple champions before Leon, being both Peony, who I think they mentioned he was once a gym leader as well, I could be wrong, and Mustard, who was also the fighting type gym leader at one point. Speaking of Galar and all of its lore, I liked seeing the gym leader, and especially when Kabu mentions that at one point he was a minor league gym leader who grew stronger and eventually became a major league gym leader. That actually is very interesting, because to be fair, we've barely seen any Galar gym leaders besides Alistair B, Raihan, and Opal, I think. But yeah, Alistair was the only minor league one, and they barely touched on that. They barely touched on gym leaders as a whole and how the Galar League works at all in Journeys, which I'm happy we see a little bit more development here. But yeah, Scorch is basically destroying Sprigatito and Fuecoco, and that's when Roy and Fuecoco work together, and Fuecoco sings its song along with Roy, the in Japanese version, the Ho 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 Gator song, which it got a very sick guitar riff to it, and I hope we see this more in the battles. And I just really like how Roy and Fuecoco amp themselves off with the song and send off more powerful attacks, like he did against Zerg. And we even see it be what helps Fuecoco learn Flamethrower, finally, calling a strong fire-type move that even like holds back Scorches for a bit, but eventually it's pushed back and takes him out. This leads to Wakabe and Liko, and when Kabu mentions that this battle will be determined if she becomes a gym trainer, Liko just immediately gives up and refuses the battle, claiming that Sprigatito is already tired and weak, but Sprigatito actually gets annoyed by this, and that's the whole purpose of this episode. Besides the training with Roy and developing him more, it's also pointing out a major flaw in Liko. Liko has been sacrificing herself for others. Now, let me explain. Lately, I've been feeling that Roy has progressed way too quickly compared to Liko. Yes, I like that he's progressing, but compared to Liko has been getting sidelined, focusing more on social relationships and not really focusing on her abilities as a trainer and improving. Roy's been taking more of a front and center role by battling Gracias. A lot of the more adventures they've been on have been towards his goal, like Arboliva and just the whole thing in Galar when they went to that forest. And even now, instead of going to visit Liko's grandma like the original plan was, they're hunting down Rayquaza. And the fact that this itself has been pointed out by Kabu, that Liko is basically letting all this happen to help others benefit, that's really good characterization. And I didn't think it would be intentional. I thought it was just the writers enjoying to write Roy more. But yeah, I really hope this goes somewhere, especially with the next episode potentially being Liko's first capture and major development towards her. I'm so excited to see. Like, this basically made the episode for me. I liked it and all, but like I said before, it was basically the same as the original Brassies in the one episode. Very similar, but it was still decent. I'd say it was like a good episode, but it was more because it treaded on the same grounds that it wasn't incredible. But this small detail and Riko's realization to it and her apology to Wakabe is what brings it up for me, in my opinion. But yeah, overall, I think this episode is really good, and it ends off with basically them deciding to go towards the Galar mine because that's where Rayquaza is. Liko yet again putting off herself, and I hope this leads to more development with Liko. She's got to stop putting herself off. Like, we've seen how great of a battler she could be. But yeah, overall, I think that this episode is an 8.5 out of 10. I really liked it. I could say more, but like, it's been a while since I've watched the episode, and I definitely feel like this is more of a middle ground between. This is going to start Liko's development as an actual trainer more than just her as a person, and I can't wait to see that. Hope you guys like this video and subscribe for more content like this in the future. S-Man, signing off.